It's Friday, March the 6th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Another big jump at gas pumps in the Maritimes as world prices soar. Ensuring safety at seniors' homes after a suspect is arrested for sexual assault.
There's a risk of some light freezing rain in New Brunswick Saturday morning. After that, light rain and fog region-wide by Saturday evening and night.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. We'll have those stories in a moment, but first there has been another significant data breach to tell you about tonight. CTV late anchor Bruce Frisco joins us. Bruce, here we are again, this time last week, I think it was Thursday night, the Nova Scotia government dropped a late release on budget cuts. Right. Today, at virtually the same time of day, Halifax Water chooses to release a statement that it's been hacked. What do we know?
Yeah, that's a good point, Todd. The email from Halifax Water came in at 4:18 p.m. today, although it's unclear exactly when the utility discovered the problem itself. Nevertheless, they do consider it significant enough to warn the public that the so-called Customer Connect online portal has been shut down for the time being. Here is what we know about it. Halifax Water says it's investigating unauthorized access to the portal, which allows customers to view their accounts, make payments, etc., etc. The news release we got says there's no indication financial information is at risk. But nevertheless, the utility has activated what it calls its incident response processes and notified the appropriate authorities, presumably the police. The company is also apologizing for the breach and the inconvenience and worry it will undoubtedly cause, and pledges it will strengthen its protections before bringing that online service back. If you click on the online links, by the way, you'll find the pages are down with a notice saying they're under maintenance at the moment. Halifax Water says it will provide an update on all of this on Monday, but in the meantime, they're telling customers to be very careful. In fact, here's what it says, and I'm quoting here. If you receive a call from someone claiming to be Halifax Water and you're unsure, hang up and call us back using the phone number listed on our official website. Halifax Water will only call during normal business hours, and they're not currently contacting customers regarding this incident. So, quote, if you receive a call, email, or text message, please ignore them. It is really just a perfect way to kick off the weekend, Todd.
And Bruce, we are almost 1 year out from the data breach with Nova Scotia Power.
That's right.
Okay, and yeah. Bruce will be here, of course, at 11:30. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you drive by now, you've likely seen the startling numbers on gas station signs, some of the biggest we've seen in years, after a couple of jumps this week. And at midnight, the interrupter clause kicks in to pump the prices yet again in all three maritime provinces. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness has the latest.
90% of the goods used by Maritimers touches a truck at some point. The cost of operating one continues to climb. In Nova Scotia, 17.5 cents have been added to the price of a litre of diesel since Wednesday.
A typical tractor trailer, can hold up to about 1,200 liters of fuel. So when we do see, these large spikes in prices, even 10 cents a liter, that's a significant increase in a fill-up.
Gas is up too. Now $1.52.7 in Nova Scotia, $1.50 even in New Brunswick, and a shocking $1.61.1 on Prince Edward Island. Diesel is over $2 a litre in all three provinces.
We haven't seen this type of increase since Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
These increases can be traced to the U.S.-Israeli-led war in Iran. And with ships being targeted in the Strait of Hormuz, petroleum prices will continue to climb.
Oil prices continue to skyrocket the longer this issue goes unaddressed. Every day it goes unaddressed, there's about 20 or 25 million barrels of oil that aren't making it into the marketplace.
As driving gets more expensive, the cost of air travel is expected to follow. Jet fuel spiked by 72% on the Asian markets today. Up to 35% of the cost of a flight is fuel.
There's talk this morning that on international flights, particularly on international flights, that there might be a fuel surcharge starting to show up on certain flights starting next week.
The price of a barrel of crude oil surpassed $90 today, and predictions are it could top $100 a barrel.
The rule of thumb usually is that $1 US a barrel is typically a penny a liter at the pump in Canada, in Atlantic Canada. So you can imagine, should the price of crude go up by, $25, $50, $60 a barrel, you can imagine the impact at the pump.
An impact we're already starting to see. And Todd, the interrupter clause is going to be used again tonight at midnight in all 3 maritime provinces, just on diesel here in Nova Scotia. But New Brunswick and PEI will see increases in both diesel and gas. Todd.
Which might account for the traffic behind you at the pumps. John McGinnis in Halifax, thank you. There's a live look right now at the coast at Burnt Coat Head. That's the park. Minus Basin, currently minus 4 degrees. Let's bring in Caleb Mitchell. It's the weekend weather, and this cool stuff is going to be heading out.
That's right, exactly. Good. But for anybody who's heading out this evening, still want to dress for some colder temperatures, because as we just saw there at Burnt Coat Head, it's sitting at -4, and many parts of the Maritimes right now are sitting a few to several degrees below 0. Some of the colder temperatures around northern areas of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, -7 at Summerside right now, -6 at Charlottetown, and some eastern areas of Nova Scotia. We're at Shittycamp, it's sitting at -9, and Sydney is down to around -6. -2 at Fredericton, -4 at Halifax, +1 at St. Stephen. They were one of the few communities that got on the plus side of the scale for today, but that's not going to last too long. Yarmouth is also sitting at +1, but will be coming below 0 as we move through this evening and tonight. Over on radar and satellite, there will be some clear periods around for this evening, and then generally increasing cloudiness during the overnight as a low pressure system and a couple of weather fronts begin to approach from the west. Now, because temperatures are colder tonight, initially when this arrives, there is a risk of some light freezing rain in the province of New Brunswick, and up around the northwestern corner of that province, that is a yellow warning for freezing rain in effect. It's for Saturday morning. There could be up to around 3 to 6 hours of light freezing rain, maybe enough to make for some very slippery surfaces like sidewalks, walking paths, parking lots, maybe some parts of the roads as well, until in the afternoon the temperatures come up above the freezing mark. If you're headed out for tonight, you're going to take advantage of some clear periods when it comes to the night sky. It's a waning gibbous moon, 89% illuminated. You can look for the Big Dipper. It'll be nearly directly overhead by 11 p.m. Aurora unlikely to be observed tonight, and as we talked about yesterday, the next pass from the International Space Station not coming up until March 10th. I'll have more in the extended forecast, Todd, including a couple of very mild days next week when I'm back later on.
Okay, very good. We'll see you then. A New Brunswick doctor says the amount of paperwork she deals with every week is so overwhelming, she doesn't get any days off. The Premier is promising a solution. CTV's Laura Brown has more.
But I'm 70, so, anything can happen.
For 42 years, Dr. Marianne Brandstrup has been a constant for families in the Nakawic area. She's seen a lot of change in that time, including how much paperwork she has to do, 90% more than 4 decades ago.
I see patients Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Wednesday mornings, I book appointments. Wednesday afternoons and Fridays, I see emergencies, but I also do paperwork. I do paperwork all weekend. I can't catch up. It's overwhelming.
We spoke to her on a Thursday. She had a stack of about 800 pages waiting for her that weekend. The issue is far from new. A survey of almost 2,000 Canadian doctors found they're spending about 9 hours a week just on paperwork. Premier Susan Holt claims the collaborative care model will help.
It provides both the funds to support the adoption of electronic medical records that have AI scripts and tools in them. It provides the staff, the administrative support for the folks that can help. I can help doctors like her move those paper records into electronic records.
The model takes a team approach, adding administrative staff, nurse practitioners, and others, so the physician isn't saddled with all the work. Nova Scotia has been making changes too, called Patients Before Paperwork. It's ordered employers to require fewer sick notes, saving doctors 67,000 hours a year. And pharmacies have more power to provide primary care, saving 86,000 hours.
I'm a perfectionist, and I want to make sure that my patients get the same kind of care that I would give them.
Dr. Brandstrup isn't ready to retire yet, but is ready to see her practice expand into a collaborative care clinic so that someday she can hand off her practice when she's ready. Laura Brown, CTV News, Nakoik, Millville, New Brunswick.
And there's more of Laura's report at our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Within the past hour, we've learned the government of New Brunswick will look into safety at long-term care centres. There's been outrage and disbelief after 15 seniors were identified as alleged victims in a sexual assault investigation at a St. John care facility. CTV's Nick Moore has the details.
The arrest this week of a 69-year-old man who is accused of sexually assaulting 15 seniors at a St. John nursing home is being followed across the country.
To my knowledge, this is the largest single case of sexual assault allegations at one facility by an individual.
St. John police say the man who was arrested is a family member of a resident at the nursing home and that the assaults allegedly happened between December 26, 2025 and January 19th. The alleged victims are between their 70s and 90s. Loch Lomond Villa in St. John confirms the arrest is connected to a report it made to police on January 21st, which prompted the investigation, and in a statement says the individual has not been permitted on Loch Lomond Villa property since the investigation began, and this restriction remains in effect. Vivian Stamatopoulos is in the Faculty of Social Science and Humanities at Ontario Tech University and is an expert in seniors care.
And I'm happy to see police involvement because unfortunately we've seen a broader national tendency of treating, frankly, many crimes that occur in long-term care facilities as mainly administrative rather than criminal.
For several weeks, the provincial government's official response was that it would not comment on an ongoing police matter. In a statement late this afternoon, the provincial government says it is now reviewing its policies and procedures, as well as safety and security procedures in individual nursing homes. This week, the official opposition has been calling for a security review of every long-term care facility in New Brunswick.
This should have been being worked on like the day after. We have to do an audit so that the policies are common no matter where your residence is.
No timeline has been provided for the provincial government's review. The unnamed man who was arrested has been released on conditions and is scheduled to be in court May 26. Nick Moore, CTV News, St. John.
Yesterday, we reported Saturday parking fees are coming to Halifax. Now, City Council has approved a hike to ride a bus or ferry. As CTV's Callum Smith reports, it's a small increase, but for a system many consider unreliable.
For some Haligonians, transit is a lifeline.
It's how I get around the city. It's how my daughter gets around the city. It's how my wife gets around the city. That's major for me.
Meaning any fare increases for him will be threefold. From rising fuel prices to speeding up the purchase of 10 new buses and the upcoming tap-to-pay service, those are some of the reasons councillors voted in favor of increasing transit fares by 25 cents in September, up to $3.25.
Ridiculous. They need to have better service before they want to go up in prices.
That was on the mind of transit staff and some councillors, but so too was the ongoing turmoil in the Middle East.
I'm not adverse to a 25-cent increase, particularly given the instability we're going to be facing in costs over the next little while.
Over 4 years, the fare hike will generate almost $6.5 million in revenue, and Halifax's current rate is less than similar-sized cities. But some people say no increase is good.
A lot for some people that are struggling, as it is with paying fares.
And transit staff caution that fare increases typically lead to ridership declines.
I think 25 cents right now would be 2.77% ridership drop we would expect.
But staff say there could be a bigger impact given fares were also raised in 2024.
Although it's 25 cents, that adds up, and a lot of people can't afford that bus fare. A lot of people can't afford houses or food.
Sam Austin worries about people who use transit twice daily.
Over the course of a month, you're up to $10, so you're talking $100, $120 more.
Others less concerned about the hike.
It ain't bad.
He's more worried about the province cutting funding for the student transit pass.
I tend not to want to do this because we're trying to build ridership rather than take it away.
But after expediting the purchase of 10 new buses,
this fare increase might be part of the down payment for that.
In the end, it was a close 8-6 vote in favor of the hike. It will come in September 21st, and council settled on tying it with the launch of Tap to Pay. Todd.
Something they've been waiting for quite some time. Callum Smith in Halifax, thank you. Members of the public are restricted for the time being from parts of Province House in Halifax after tense encounters between demonstrators and politicians. The rationale for the move is safety, but some question whether it's limiting debate. Here's CTV's Jesse Thomas.
As the Houston government pushes through a new budget with $304 million in cuts to spending in the civil service, it's gaining a lot of attention and protest. With emotions high, the House Speaker announced restrictions to public access inside the Province House after some tense moments this week.
Well, I changed the specifics to this floor because I want to make sure that we have a safe environment for all MLAs here at the Province House.
For the time being, the public is no longer allowed access to the second floor where the Legislative Assembly sits. Earlier this week, Premier Tim Houston was berated by two members of the public as they left the gallery. And although the Speaker didn't acknowledge it, another tense moment occurred when an MLA was cornered by a group who were impacted by spending cuts, which saw their conversation get heated. Barkhouse assured the restrictions are temporary.
As most people know, the emotions are high here in the House, and therefore people are allowed downstairs and up in the gallery. I do not, myself and the staff, do not want to impede people being able to enter and watch legislation being made. This is the People's House.
Outside this week saw 2 days of protests with hundreds of people filling the street. On Wednesday, the Premier made his way through a crowd that remained after a protest and was followed by insults and lewd gestures. Former Premier and interim Liberal leader Ian Rankin calls the public restrictions a step backwards.
When there's very difficult decisions that have to be made, elected officials need to be accountable.
It is more important than ever that people can come into this House and that they can feel that this is their house.
Political science professor Tom Urbaniak said there's a fine line between safety concerns and democratic access.
The Speaker has to be able to assure us that she has taken that decision on the advice of the Sergeant at Arms or on the advice of nonpartisan experts, and not at the behest of any political party or any leader.
Barkhouse said she and her staff made the decision alone. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The old Moncton High School, built in the 1930s in the Normandy Gothic Revival style, continues to be an imposing landmark. But its halls have been silent for years, and as CTV's Derek Haggett reports, talk of its future is quiet too.
Mo Jacob can't help but feel nostalgic when he walks up the front steps to his old high school.
There's all kinds of memories here.
Jacob was the yearbook photographer for Moncton High in 1989. The school closed in 2015 when the new Moncton High School opened 10 kilometers away. Seeing it empty saddens him.
You know, in this day and age, I can't imagine that there was no purpose for the school or purpose for the building, whether we keep it a school or a government facility, or I just can't imagine why in 2026 we haven't done anything with the building yet.
It's gone through extensive renovations over the years, but still no tenants. The building is owned by Heritage Management, and according to its website, the property is in development and currently not available for lease. CTV News reached out to Heritage Management today, but no one was made available for comment. Heritage Management bought the Normandy Gothic-style building from the province in 2017 for $1 million. There was talk of reopening it as a school, but that never happened. One historian says it was one of the most advanced high schools in all of Canada when it opened in 1935.
I can't think of another building in Moncton of that stature, of that magnitude, that's that impressive. It had an auditorium and a cafeteria and a rifle range and all these things. So they really took what, you know, the best you could possibly put into a high school at the time.
Neighbors also hate seeing it empty.
Yeah, it's a sin. Maybe even to look after the homeless people. I don't know. It should be used. It should be used for something or tear it down.
If he could have his wish, Jacob would like to see it become a high school again. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
Much of the Maritimes has had an old-fashioned winter, you know, cold, lots of snow. Much of it will melt over the weekend, however, as Kaylin will tell us. The question is, will it be enough to restore water levels to face another summer of drought? CTV's Hafsa Araf looks into that.
Snow blankets forests,
piling along shorelines and building a deep snowpack across much of the region.
We have received about 221 centimeters of snow. The average is about 177 centimeters for sort of the snowy season. So we're sitting at about a foot and a half more than that average right now.
But beyond sore arms and icy mornings, that deep snowpack could carry some important benefits when spring arrives, which the Maritime desperately needs after seeing water shortages and raised wildfire concerns in the warmer months.
With a bit more of a snowpack built up, it should linger a little bit later into the spring season before it completely disappears. So we do get that more gradual, sort of slower release of moisture into some of the water systems in and around the Maritimes.
But whether that meltwater fully replenishes reservoirs and groundwater is still uncertain.
Everything on the Halifax side is still below historic levels at this time, but we're currently waiting for snow melt and snowpack to really get a full assessment.
The real picture won't become clear until later in the spring, once the snow disappears and the runoff flows into lakes and reservoirs.
Around April and May when the snow goes away, but we're still hopeful for a lot of rain this spring and this summer. If we continue to have historic low levels again like last summer, the lake levels will obviously continue to drop.
Parts of the Maritimes are seeing less snow than others. Some areas could still face drier conditions, which is why Halifax Water is encouraging water conservation as we approach the end of winter. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Halifax.
We'll step aside for a couple of minutes. Still to come, cold with some clouds moving in tonight. Kaylin will have the weekend forecast. But next, struggle at the grocery checkout aisle.
I just kind of go to the spots that I know generally have good prices and buy what I can buy.
New numbers show just how challenging it is for some Canadians to afford the food they eat. We'll have more after this. A new survey paints a pretty grim picture of how Canadians are being affected by the price of groceries. Many say they're cutting back or even going into debt just to afford the most basic meals. CTV's Kimberly Fowler breaks down the numbers.
We're gonna make some lasagna. Gail Barrett is finishing up a grocery run for the day at this local Walmart. Onions for aromatic. This is her last stop after shopping at Costco earlier in the day, getting food for her family. Proper nutrition is important, but we're cutting back in other areas, right, to make sure that we can afford the groceries. I just kind of go to the spots that I know generally have good prices and buy what I can buy. With rising grocery prices, some Canadians are consciously making hard choices to save money.
If it's not on sale, we're not buying it.
A new survey from debt relief firm Spergel finds in the past 6 months, just over 60% of respondents say they skip meals or reduce their portions. More than half say they use credit cards, loans, or lines of credit to pay for groceries. And about 40% say they delayed paying a bill to buy groceries. The survey also finds many are purchasing less meats or proteins and cutting back on fruits and vegetables.
The price of a container of strawberries is like $14 now compared to what it used to be. Even buying baby food, baby formula, I mean, it's tripled the price over the past few years.
Experts say the affordability crisis is leading to more Canadians going into debt and relying on credit to make everyday purchases.
I can't afford to pay the credit cards because the credit card interest rates are so high. We see a lot of times we go over the budget with them. It's sad to see that their food budget is limited, and we know they're not living on that.
Toman says, look at your budget, and if you're struggling financially, don't be afraid to ask for help.
I always suggest they reach out to their community, if their churches, the community resources, the food bank, if they can. Also buy in bulk. Watch for the sales, clip your coupons because that does help. I know it's a lot of work, but it's doable.
Kimberly Fowler, CTV News.
This is the web poll tonight. We're asking, is the high cost of groceries putting you in debt? A simple yes or no. We'd like to hear from you at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Still to come, a risk of some freezing rain to start Saturday for New Brunswick in particular. Kaylin is looking at that. He'll have the details in 2 minutes' time. We We take you to the harbor at French Village, Nova Scotia, where clearly the ice is breaking up.
I'd say so.
I would say so.
And that's going to be, of course, occurring more and more as we make our way through the month of March. We talked a little bit about that in the show yesterday, so certainly it's the time of the year where you want to be very careful about any ice on the lakes, rivers, even around the shoreline.
You were talking to Hafsa about the snowpack.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And we heard Halifax Water saying, you know, around the Halifax area anyway, it's still not enough. They won't really know until a lot of that gets into their reservoir.
Exactly, yeah.
But certainly there has got to be some relief there, given just how much snow the Halifax area and a lot of the coastal areas have had.
Yeah, it's certainly better than it was last year.
Yeah.
About 100 centimeters better this year when it comes to the amount of snow. Yeah, about 100 centimeters, so about a little over 3 feet there. So if people are feeling that in their arms a little bit after moving that snow, there's your verification for it right there. All right, let's take a look at what's going on across the country as far as weather conditions go. It's raining right now out in BC. Vancouver, Victoria, seeing some rain, sitting at 8 degrees at the moment. Temperatures are milder now through parts of the prairies, at least southern areas of the prairies. Calgary sitting at 11 right now, Saskatoon at +2. Winnipeg still cold, sitting at -8. Up north, Yellowknife right now, sunshine -21. It's clear at Iqaluit, but very cold there because of that, sitting at -29. In southern Ontario, Windsor right now sitting at 7 degrees. It's near 0 for Toronto and Ottawa, 1 at Montreal. Here in the Maritimes, got -2 at Fredericton, -4 at Halifax, and colder at Charlottetown, sitting at -8. St. John's -6 right now, and in Labrador, some colder temperatures, clear conditions at Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and -15. Tonight for the Maritimes, it is a cold evening and night. We're going to be seeing some increase in cloudiness as we head towards and after midnight. That cloud cover increasing the most in western areas of New Brunswick, as well as western areas of Nova Scotia. Further cloud cover rolls over the Maritimes as we head into and through Saturday morning. That is also when we get into a risk of some freezing rain around the northwest of New Brunswick. And again, those warnings that are in effect calling for the potential of 3 to 6 hours of freezing rain. It should be relatively light. Temperatures, though, continue to rise through the day on Saturday, moving into Saturday afternoon. That's turned over to some areas of lighter rain and showers for parts of New Brunswick. There may even be some showers and drizzle to develop for areas of Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia. There will be some fog around as well, especially as temperatures warm up. The air saturates a little bit with that little bit of wet weather coming in, and of course, moisture being released into the air from the snow that'll continue to evaporate and melt as temperatures are above 0. Later on, Saturday evening and Saturday night, expect fairly cloudy conditions, patchy fog and drizzle, and a band of light rain will make its way across the Maritimes. Through the late evening hours, it's mostly for the province of New Brunswick, but overnight and into Sunday, it shifts towards Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia. And even New Brunswick on Sunday will have a few more rounds of showers across parts of the province. Overall rainfall amounts, though, through the weekend look relatively light, mostly in the range of around a few to several millimeters. There might be a few locations to pick up 10 millimeters or maybe just a little bit more. Keep in mind, though, that there is going to be melt from the snow combining with that rain. So if you do have the opportunity to check drainage systems around your property and make sure they're as free and clear as they can be at this point in the season, it's not a bad idea to do so. Taking a look at winds in the forecast for tomorrow, you can expect them to become southwest in the afternoon, a little bit gusty with some gusts between 30 and 50 kilometers per hour. Low temperatures in the forecast for tonight for many parts of the Maritimes still fall into a range around -4 to -9. Colder than that for eastern areas of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and the north and east of Nova Scotia, where some lows will be between -10 and -14. Here's a look at the high temperatures for tomorrow, though, and big turnaround. 4 to 6 degrees late in the day for communities in the north of New Brunswick. In some cases may come up another few degrees during the night. Temperatures late in the day of 4 to 7 degrees through central and southern parts of that province. Prince Edward Island returns to the plus side of the scale. Late day temperatures between 2 and 5 degrees. Temperatures for PEI will continue to rise a couple more degrees Saturday night into Sunday morning, as they will for Nova Scotia. So these temperatures here, these are late day temperatures for Cape Breton, around 4, 5 degrees, between 4 and 7 for the eastern shore and north shore of the province. Northern and central areas of Nova Scotia up around the mid-single digits. Into the southwest of Nova Scotia, late in the day, temperatures up between around 5 and 9 degrees. And that warming trend, it continues into Sunday, and a couple milder days are ahead next week. For New Brunswick, looks like high temperatures will be around the low teens for many communities on both Monday and Tuesday, and then cools Wednesday into Thursday, and there's a potential there for an icy mix between those 2 days for New Brunswick and other parts of the Maritimes. Friday next week, a mix of sun and cloud. For Nova Scotia in the forecast, clocks go forward on Sunday. It's some light rain and drizzle. Mix of sun and cloud, much milder temperatures for Monday and Tuesday of next week, and the potential for an icy mix of weather Wednesday night into Thursday. That would be maybe a mixture of some ice pellets, some freezing rain, and some rain. And for Prince Edward Island in the forecast, light rain and drizzle on Sunday, then a couple milder days through the start of next week. The potential, though, the conditions could turn icy Wednesday into Thursday of next week, and Friday, a mix of sun and cloud. Todd.
Okay, thank you, Kalen. We'll see you for the wake up. Next, we'll talk about this weekend's lineup of new releases at the cinema. CTV film critic Richard Krause shares his picks next. I think we can all agree it's been a pretty intense week. Friday brings a slate of new releases to the cinemas in the Maritimes and perhaps a chance to escape for a couple of hours. So let's have a guide to just that. And of course, it is Maritimer and CTV film critic Richard Krause who joins us. Hi there, Richard.
Hey, Todd. How are you?
Our first film, we're going to get right into it, is it would be a prequel of sorts to The Bride of Frankenstein. We'll talk about that, but let's take a look.
Can anybody help me? What happened?
You had an accident.
So this is Maggie Gyllenhaal who's directing this, and she gives The Bride of Frankenstein a voice, something she didn't have in the original film, or not much.
Yeah, and a lot more screen time, too. In the original film, Elsa Lancaster's only on screen for about 4 minutes. Wow. Here, the bride, played by Jessie Buckley, who will very likely be winning an Academy Award in the next week or so for her work in Hamnet, plays the bride. She is a flapper. It's 1930 Chicago. She is killed in kind of a horrible misunderstanding, but brought back to life by a mad scientist and Frankenstein's creature who desperately wants a companion. Unlike the original movie, though, the bride wakes up with different ideas of how she wants to run her life. And so what you get is a little bit of Bonnie and Clyde, a little bit of Wild at Heart. You know, there's a lot of things going on here. And it's a movie that is stuffed with big ideas about bodily autonomy, about identity, about what it truly means to be happy, and more. It goes on and on and on. There's lots of stuff crammed into this, and unfortunately, it doesn't really work. You've got really good actors. I think Jessie Buckley's performance will likely divide people between those who think that she is way over the top and those who think that she is unhinged, but in the very best of ways. I'm somewhere in the middle there. I thought Christian Bale as the creature was beautiful. He does a great job of this. I just wish the movie had a better way of expressing its ideas. So for me, it's like a 1.5 star out of 5.
Jeez, Richard. She ropes in some of the family here, too. Her husband, her brother, everybody gets a turn.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal's in here, and her husband, Peter Skarsgård, is in it as well.
Okay, very different now. One for the kids. The animated Hoppers has a girl who protects the environment. Here we go.
We call it hoppers. Huh? We put this into this. Yes, yes, this into this. Mabel! Be careful! Whoa. And they were in the same den.
No. So Pixar has been kind of hit and miss over the last few years. Where does this sit?
This is a hit. This is Pixar back in peak form. It's called Hoppers. It's about a young girl who is trying to stop her favorite nature retreat from being paved over and turned into a superhighway. So the way she does it, and you just saw a bit of it in the clip, is that she hops into the body of a robotic beaver. And now she can understand and speak to the animals to find out, you know, if they will come back to the glade so it can be saved and rescued. And that takes up the bulk of the film. But it's funny. It's got a lot of heart. The animation is wonderful. This is a movie, I think, that will appeal to all ages, from little kids who I think will like the story and the, you know, amusing creatures, all the way up to grandparents. I think this is Pixar absolutely firing on all cylinders, and it's a 4 out of 5 star movie. It's called Hoppers, and it's in theaters right now.
Well, that is good to hear. Okay, next is a remake of the Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe hockey hit Youngblood. Here we go.
Youngblood shooting! You need to survive.
Youngblood coming down the wing. He's got a chance.
I want too long long and hard for you to let anybody take this from you.
Now, this features PEI actor Alexandra McDonald, who plays a goalie and I believe the love interest of Dean Youngblood. But, Richard, she's also the coach's daughter. That's trouble.
Yep.
How does
That is true.
How does this match up with the original?
Well, it's much different than the original. The original was 1986. It feels very much of its time. It's a little bit raunchy. Rob Lowe plays a guy that doesn't have quite enough confidence to get out there and really put his best foot, or I guess skate forward on his way to realizing his dream of becoming an NHLer. Here you have a guy played wonderfully by Ashton James, who has anger issues, and they stem from some things that have happened to him personally. It gets him kicked off a team in Detroit, which seems to be the end of his career, until he's picked up by a minor league team in Hamilton, Ontario, where he has to learn how to deal with some systemic racism and to control his anger. He's a hothead. He needs to get that out of his system and learn to work with the team. And this movie has good hockey sequences, but it's also about something. Great sports movies are never just about the sport. They are about the transformational nature of a sport and how people can change. It's about the connections you make, all that sort of thing. And Youngblood does a good job of that. So I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5, and it's in theaters now.
Okay, nice to see a talented young Maritimer in there as well.
Absolutely.
Finally, a young woman meets her rock and roll idol, who she realizes needs saving. Don't they all? This is Sweetness.
I just called to hear your voice.
I love you. Do you think we'll get to meet him tonight?
Sensitive but troubled rock star, aren't they all?
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly what she loves about him. So Kate Hallett plays this character who is in love with this rock star because he writes songs that are angsty, and she thinks that they're written specifically for her. They have a chance to meet. I won't tell you exactly how. And then she realizes that he's a drug addict, and she chains him to the bed to try and cure him of his habit. And then other things happen, which I won't tell you about. But this is a movie that is about obsessive fandom. It's also got some interesting stuff to say about what happens when you take away all the dark stuff that the singer was writing about. Will they have anything in common? Because that's what really appealed to her in the first place. This is good stuff. It's called Sweetness, and I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5.
Okay, and I think we could all probably use a couple hours in the movie theater or something to take our minds off everything else. Thank you for being our guide for that. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We'll take a time out. We're back right after this. Health headlines on this Friday. We have news of a chocolate product sold at Costco that's being recalled. CTV's Amanda Debison explains why in tonight's edition of The Lifeline.
Costco is recalling a chocolate mousse product due to the presence of nuts, which are not declared on the label. The recall for Delissi Dubai-style chocolate mousse was issued because the affected products may contain cashew or macadamia nuts. Those allergens may cause severe, potentially life-threatening allergic reactions in people with nut allergies. Customers who bought the affected products between January and February of this year are told they can return them to Costco for a full refund. A new study from The Lancet finds that more adults than ever are living with chronic headaches. While they are a serious health issue for an estimated 2.9 billion people, more women than men are experiencing head-pounding pain. In fact, migraines affect twice as many women as men, and adults over 50 years of age have the highest rates of both tension headaches and migraines. 20% of all headaches were caused by medication overuse. Experts say that's because taking pain relievers too often can actually make headaches worse. Finally, a new study published in the journal PLOS ONE suggests that green spaces may protect postmenopausal women from the harmful effects of air pollution linked to breast cancer. Women who lived in areas with little greenery had up to a 300% higher risk of breast cancer associated with air pollution. Yet those surrounded by more green space had only a 50% increased risk. It's also true that women in the study who developed breast cancer were more likely to weigh more, have a family history, use hormone therapy, or have their first child later in life. But prior studies show that green spaces can lower breast cancer risk factors by encouraging physical activity, as well as reducing obesity, inflammation, and high blood sugar. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
Well, the markets continued their downward slide. The Dow Jones closed the trading week down 450 points. The U.S. Supreme Court did not say whether Washington would have to refund billions of dollars it collected in tariffs. But now the U.S. Customs Agency weighed in. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez has more.
The U.S. Customs Agency says it's working on a way to process tariff refunds. The U.S. Supreme Court deemed last month that the U.S. president did not have the authority to impose tariffs in most circumstances. Washington collected $166 billion in tariffs from around 330,000 importers. It wasn't made clear refunds would be issued, but the Customs Agency says it should be able to start refunds in 45 days. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to $73.62. West Texas Intermediate jumped almost $10 to $90.77. Western Canadian Select is also up $5 to $65.40. And the TSX lost another 526 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Kaylin, when we do this on Monday, the window behind me here will be daylight all the time.
Oh, how about that? That's right, because clocks go forward on Sunday. Also a great time to check to make sure that batteries and your smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors are changed or that they're not past their expiry dates. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight. It's a beautiful shot. It's coming in from April McLean. Sunrise this morning from North Sydney, Nova Scotia, and a beautiful one it was. Thank you so much for that, April. North Sydney for tomorrow can expect increasing cloudiness, maybe some patchy drizzle showing up late in the day, and high temperature coming up to 5 degrees. That's +5. Day planner, though, at the start of the day, temperatures are mostly still below the freezing mark, and there is that risk of freezing rain, especially in the northwest of New Brunswick. In the afternoon, though, temperatures rise above freezing across the Maritimes. We do see some light rain, some showers, some patchy drizzle and fog develop, and again, there'll be a little bit more soggy weather to move through Saturday night into Sunday. Let's find out what's coming up on Your Morning Atlantic.
Monday on Your Morning Atlantic, Girls Night Out.
The annual Progress Club fundraiser is supporting the great work at Hope Blooms this year, and we'll pay them a visit.
Start your morning with us Monday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Finally, for us on this Friday night, a whole new meaning to the saying, the big cheese. This year's winner of the World Championship of Cheese contest was crowned in Wisconsin. It happened yesterday. As you can see there, the winning team hails from the Netherlands. Their cheese, called Beemster Royal Grand Cru, scored 98.68 out of 100. The first runner-up in the contest was an aged Appenzeller from Switzerland. 25 countries, including Canada, and 34 American states were represented in the competition. Beemster, that is good stuff, and I think you can get it around here. Maybe not that one, but anyway. That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce will have your late update at 11:30. Our weekend reporting is at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. We're going to leave you along the Cap and Trail in Cheticamp with the names of everyone who brings you your newscast each night. I'm Todd Battis. Hope to see you Monday. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.